sowed a big seed in 1997 and God prospered me and he gave me a Rolls Royce and he gave me a mansion. And I used the principles of faith. And if you have faith, you're going to get whatever it is that you want. If you have faith, you're going to move a mountain.
Segregated for tithes and offering. When you give to the poor, the only thing you do is help them, but you don't help yourself. So when you give $1 to somebody on the street talking about I did my job, God like, thank you, but it ain't gonna help you.
Have you ever been in a situation in a church where the pastor calls for the congregation to start giving money, and you, smart guy or smart woman, at some point you didn't want to give, okay? But then the pastor starts saying some things that made you feel maybe I should give, and you ended up dipping your hands in your pocket and giving a large sum of money. And maybe the reason why you give the money is because you are expecting to get something in return. It might be financial gains. You might be sick. You sow a seed so that you get well or you get money. But years down the line, boom, it occurs to you that, hold on, I didn't get rich. Or the sickness is still there. If you've been in that kind of situation, can you kindly raise your hands? I didn't mean you should raise your hands. I was just joking. But for real, a lot of people are raising eyebrows about, financial condition of some men of God and the congregation, the disparity, okay? And then a lot of people give, which is good, give to the poor, pay your tithe and all that. I want to say, before you give next time, I want you to watch this video to the end, because this is very, very expository. E.J. Newton has been a pastor for a long time, a while, and this was anchored by Hardly Initiated. Okay, it is very expository. He has been through the thick and thin. Did the dark stuff, learned a lot. Did some tricks. All those things. The idea is for us to learn and get better. Okay, and then after that, I went through some research, because I actually researched on this, because this is getting bad. Okay. And I'm going to tell you what I came up with, and then you tell me what you think. But let's watch this first. So at this point, he's trying to explain how easy it is to flip from doing the will of God to the will of the devil when you think you're actually giving to God.
The practices or the prophetic, gifts, or the story, because the phase you were in, you said both of you guys your heart was all wrong at this point.
Yeah. Because
you were focusing on the gifts and no longer the gospel.
Yeah.
When does that become witchcraft?
The moment we're no longer chasing after God,
so it was so would you even say, is it safe to say that at that point both of you guys
were in rebellion? This is rebellion against God. Once you begin to rebel against God, you're in witchcraft. You read the Bible, read what the Bible talks about rebellion. When you have to pay to receive a miracle.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, there's a video circulating. 10 ladies bring $1,000 and you're gonna get a husband.
You're kidding.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't know if they got married today. I don't think so. I think they're all still very single and searching. Maybe one or two, I don't know. But I know one lady for sure who came out that I know her picture, but she's still single.
That's comparable to when we interviewed the witch and somebody's paying for a spell.
Yeah. Same thing.
The same thing.
Paying for spell.
Yeah, I mean, I've literally been in a house where a mother brought her son to the house, and the son sold like a big seed. It was like $11,000 or $16,000, something crazy like that between that amount. And he got prayed for so that his career would get big, right? And I remember sitting in that place and we're praying for him. And when we're done, my friend is like, I'm gonna give him a deeper prayer. And I'm like, okay, cool. And he takes him outside and he takes a nail and nails it to a tree. And he says he's nailing the curses. And then he says, this is scriptural because curses nailed to anyone that hangs on a tree or whatever. But then in that moment, because I was so primed to deception, I was like, whatever he told me, I believed it. You see what I'm saying? But now I look at that and I'm like, in face value, that's witchcraft, right? Because Jesus already carried the curses to the tree. He already hung on the tree. He already was nailed to the tree.
So that was him trying to show what happened. One of the incidents where someone gave huge money, and what the prophet did extra, like nailing a nail in a tree, to pray extra for those people. The idea of this video is to x-ray the fact that the gift of God is not transactional. You don't give and take with money. So this video popped up while they were making this while they were going through this interview, and then I'll play this video and then see what they said, and then I'll show you what I want to show you. Okay.
Anytime a person is in need, y'all go to running and dropping money. But let me tell you something, the poor will be with you always. And there is no blessing connected to blessing the poor other than getting back what you gave to them, but no multiplication. Multiplication is segregated for tithes and offering. When you give to the poor, the only thing you do is help them, but you don't help yourself.
And you give to the poor.
So when you give $1 to somebody on the street talking about I did my job, God like, thank you, but it ain't gonna help you. Read your Bible.
It's not gonna help you.
Charity does not bring wealth. Only the tithe does that.
Now listen.
Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 10. Give generously to them and do so without a grudging heart. Then because of this, the Lord your God will bless you in all your work and in everything you put your hand to.
It's basically saying you give to the needy, you're going to be blessed.
That's what it says.
A lot of blessings, right?
Yeah.
But here's who does that message favor? What you just heard. Who does that message favor? Does it favor the people?
The church.
Or does it favor the church? Or does it favor the leader? Who's getting them funds?
Well, definitely the church, and then after that, it's all alleged.
Right.
Okay.
But if you telling people not to give to the poor, then I'm assuming you want to give them the best place to give, which would in this case be the church.
Right.
To God.
To God. Through the church.
Through the church. And how does God take the money from the church?
How does God take money from the church?
I don't even know.
That's the
I've never thought of this.
That is the question.
Yeah, it depends on what they rules and you know.
So is there a difference?
So your mom needs money. Your mom don't got it like that. She's at the hospital. She really needs funds right now, but the church needs money for a building. Don't give to mom because you're not going to get multiplied. Give to church. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then now you have your family who now sees the gospel as a perversion because they don't understand what kind of God has told you to give to the poor, but yet you're at a church that is telling you not to give to the poor, or us that actually needs something. You have your nephew that needs money for school fees, but you're not going to give your nephew money for school fees because the church is in need of something, because if you give to the church, you're going to get multiplied. Think about this. The pastor is not the only one who is greedy. You're also greedy. Because guess what? I don't want multiplication. I just want my nephew to go to school. Now you're just thinking about you. You're selfish too. If that message resonated with you, you're greedy. It's not just the pastor's fault. So a lot of these teachings are resonating with greed inside of people.
Are you greedy?
They're not resonating with contentment. Listen, I don't want the multiplication then. If it means that my mom is going to suffer in the hospital, I don't want the multiplication. I'm just content. I'm good with contentment. The Bible teaches us to be content.
This is good. This is so good. Like, I can't really explain, okay? There's something we call common sense. But before I use a common sense, okay, let's even say something from the Bible. You heard the pastor, right? He said, I'm giving to the poor. You're not getting anything from it, but tithing, you get multiples, okay? And then EJ made some quotations. Then let me show you this one too. Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me, the least. And I would say the least would be the poor, okay? And let me also show you this real quick. Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless and the widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. Pretty much visiting the fatherless and the widow. They are the least, okay? They are the least. Okay, let me also show you this. And this is Matthew 25:35-40, okay? For I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you took me in. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me. This is the first time God called himself the people, if you understand what I mean. Like here he says me, like the people you see every day, the sick guy on the street, the homeless guy. This is the first time in the Bible, or one of the times God actually called himself that guy that you're seeing. So judging from this, if God can call himself the least of your brethren, when you're giving to God, who should you give? If God can call the least of his brethren himself, when you're giving to God that you do not see, who should you give? Now, I'm not saying this to come against tithing or to come against whatever giving to the church, no. But this is just something I'm trying to bring up so that we can think about, okay? And then while you're at it, please hit the subscription button and like the channel. Let me know what you also think. It helps the algorithm so that more people would see this, okay? Thank you very much. Now let's go on. But before I continue, I'll tell you one experience I had. Because actually EJ exposed some things, like, some of the things that they do, taking money from people. Not, something like that. This is the experience I had. So I came up one day and I decided I'm going to pay my tithe. Because I don't usually pay my tithe all the time. And I'm not against it. But I've been praying about it. So I went to the church. I'm not going to say the name of this church. So I went there, and this church has a way of collecting tithes. They have an envelope they give to you, and then you put your tithes in there. And if you're registered in the church, you have a number. Okay, they have a record of all those things. So I went there. I picked up the envelope from the secretary of the church, and then I went home. The envelope was filled up with smaller envelopes. Just listen. And then when I got home, and then I was about to shove my money into those envelopes, I opened the smaller envelopes, and I would say it's about 4 envelopes in there. But when I looked at the envelopes, one, they wrote thank you envelope. The second envelope was developing the church, pretty much, not word for word, something like that. The third one, I can't remember what it is, but the one that shook me was the fourth one, helping the poor. I was shocked. And this was a tithe envelope, like an envelope that was supposed to be for tithing. But then inside this envelope has where you can put some money for the poor. And I'm not going to speak further on this. I'm going to leave it there, okay? Tell me what you think about this church. I don't know. Just tell me what you think. But let's go to what EJ said, okay? About, what people do in the church. Like what pastors do.
God wants you to be prosperous. Yeah. He wants, and they say, I have the biggest house and I have this and I sowed this seed. And because I sowed this seed, God gave me this house and gave me this mansion or whatever. You heard that.
For sure. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
That is positive thinking. That's words of affirmation. That's believing in the I am, believing that they have some sort of power. And because they have that power, they could declare the house because they did something. They sowed a seed, the prosperity gospel. You sowed this big seed, and all of a sudden you got multiplied. And now the members, guess what? Let me. Can I explain this to you?
Yeah.
Here's the problem with these kind of teachings, right? So you come to church. We all come to church. Pastor EJ says, I sowed a big seed in 1997, and God prospered me, and He gave me a Rolls Royce, and He gave me a mansion. And I used the principles of faith. And if you have faith, you're going to get whatever it is that you want. If you have faith, you're going to move a mountain. And I'm going to tell you that trick, right? So I tell all of you to have faith so you can get blessed. And if you sow the seed, God is going to multiply it. But I'm not living by that. Guess what I'm doing? You're all giving to who?
You.
You're giving to me.
Right.
So I don't have to believe in God to bless me for a Rolls Royce. Y'all paid for my Rolls Royce because you gave me your rent. You gave me your mortgage. You gave me your salary. You gave me your car payment, hoping that you were going to get some sort of return. And if you don't get it, God forbid, it's not your problem. I mean, it's not my problem. It's your problem because you didn't have enough faith. So come to my next class, come to my next teaching, so I can teach you how to have greater faith, because the last time you didn't really get it. So come next week, I'm going to teach you how to have greater faith, but don't forget to bring your rent again. Don't forget to bring your car payment. So now you're not learning how to be good financial stewards. You're taking your money, you're taking your rent, you're taking things that you could invest into your future. I'm not telling you not to give to God or give to the house of God, but I'm telling you there is a game that is being played. And now you have members who are broke. You have members who are in a cycle of giving the false teachers, giving the false preachers. The preachers may not even, they may believe they're alive.
Oh man, this is very good. Okay. He said something about, like, after giving to them, okay, and you're not rich, for example, and you come back and you're not getting what you want to get, and they'll be like, it's your fault, you did something wrong, okay? This is how you do it. But next time you come and bring more tithe and bring more offering, bring more money, bring your rent money, okay? And this sounds more like the idea of give and take. There is a man, I'll give you an example. There is a man who sells in Africa. I don't know if it's a joke, if it really happened, but this is what happened. He sells bad electric bulbs, okay? And he knows that those bulbs are not good. He has like a carton of them. But he is bent on selling this carton of bulbs, electric bulbs, okay? So you come to his shop, he sells this to you, okay? And you go home. Of course, it's not good. He's expecting you to come back. You go home, boom, it's not working. You head back to his office, his shop. And then you're like, hey, this bulb is not good, okay? And then he asks you this question. Did you turn on the lights before fixing the bulb in the socket? Or did you fix the bulb in the socket before turning on the lights? Those are the two questions he's going to ask you. And then you go, one of them, okay? It must be one of them. You either say, okay, I switch on the lights after putting on the bulb in the socket. Guess what he says? He says, you caused it. You should have put on the bulb before turning on the lights. But if you say the other way around, he says, you caused it. You should have turned on the light before putting on the bulb. So either way, you're wrong. Could it be the game some, I'm not saying all, some of those pastors or some of these men of God play? Now, I'm not trying to say that giving to church is bad. But then, like I said, I went into some research and I came up with this, okay? I realized from a teaching that the kingdom of God has a principle, and it's in the Bible. So through my digging deep, I discovered this law of attraction. And this is not the new age, okay? Because I would say the new age stole it and perverted it pretty much. This is scattered all over the Bible. And the law of pretty much atomic bomb, pretty much, where they say negative charges attracts positive charges, okay? Realize that it is all over the Bible, like scattered somehow, okay? Something like become meek so that you become strong, okay? The way to go up is to go down, something like that. You give, you receive, okay? These are pretty much like creating a negative situation where a positive situation is attracted. Let me explain even better, okay? A negative situation is created where, for example, where you are praying, or let's say where you're fasting. And when you're fasting, you are suffering the skin, right? You're suffering the body. And when you're suffering the body, you're putting the body to stress, you're losing. You've created a negative charge, okay? And when that happens, you gain a positive reward through your spirit. You're attracting the presence of God in your life. That is creating the negativity to get a positive charge. Okay, this is all over. Even in prayers, like let's say you're praying for someone and God rewards you for doing this. Okay, let's use giving, which is pretty much what we are talking about here. You bring out your money and you give. Let's say you give to the poor. You've created a negativity in you. Pretty much something left you gave. And what happens is God in his infinite mercies blesses you, attracts blessings unto you, just like the Bible quotation I just read, okay? Attracts blessing to you. So creating that negative charge creates a positive attraction, and that is a principle. It is there in the Bible. But then here is the problem. The problem now is not that you gave, but the problem is how you gave. Like in a situation where you intentionally give, okay, you give just because you want to receive. You are not giving because it's in you. Because true Christianity is when you do all these things. True Christianity is when you help the poor, help the needy, help the widow, the orphan. It's true Christianity. So as a Christian, it has to be a part of you, like your everyday. You have to be like a river. Keep flowing like that. Not sometimes, not when you have needs, you go give. It has to continue going like that. Okay? So, but the problem is when your heart is bent on giving because you want to receive, That is what I think E.J. Newton called witchcraft. Because actually, when you go to a herbalist, he tells you to sacrifice something to get something. Our God seems not to be, I think our God is not transactional like that. This is my thoughts, okay? So, you look at the Bible, it says, God loves a cheerful giver. And that cheerfulness, it's pretty much the mind, the thoughts, your heart, what's in your heart when you're giving. So when you're sitting in a church, okay, and the pastor is preaching, and then boom, the pastor tells you to give, and previously you didn't want to give, and then when the pastor starts saying some things like you give so that you give so that God is going to open up blessings, and then embarrass you with blessings, and guess what? You say, oh, I need this, and then you dip your hands in your pocket and you give, you sow a seed because you want to receive. You see, your heart is no longer where it is supposed to be. It's no longer cheerful giving, because at the end of the day, you gave because you were manipulated to give. And I think you might not, this is my thoughts, I think you might not receive. But when it becomes living by the principles of God, like living by the fact that you already know that this is what I'm supposed to do as a Christian, even when you have or you don't have, you still feel you are obliged, like still have to keep giving. That is when the blessings of God abound. And having said that, this is not to say you shouldn't pay your tithe. I never said so. But when you're paying it, or when you're giving it, your heart has to be right. And now, this is my thoughts. Let me know what you think about this. And have you been in this kind of situation where you are struggling? Because I really struggled about this giving thing. And let me just know what you think. And like, subscribe, and follow my channel. I'll see you next time. Peace.